We'll leave it like that. We'll reset it up. And there, we got them both going.
Okay.
There.
There's a light going right into that, but, oh well.
Oh no. You
Yeah,
can-
see?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? There's always.
Well, I can sit in front of the, like this.
We'll just take down the window blind here.
Okay,
Probably was cascading most of the light.
okay.
How's that?
Well, better, I guess. I'll try to sit in front of here like this.
Okay. Now, we just need to find a pen that actually works. Perfect. All right. And what's your last name, Sandy?
Romanek, R-O-M-A-N-I-C-K.
It's February 4th today. It's my sister's birthday. I'm sure I give her a call before end of day. So the first things we're seeing here, I like pointing out the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's just getting a full picture here. The fact that we see, oh, hello. Oh, size limit reached. This isn't a funky phone so like that one, so I've already reached my size limit.
I hope
Thought it was
this
saving my
works.
card. Yeah, it is. It's so good things first. We see lots of empty space here. That means that there's good oxygenation in your bloodstream. You're not going hypoxic like him up in Lyme where we lose oxygen. These guys here, this one down here, that's a nice, healthy, round red blood cell. These guys here are poikilocytes. These are free radicals. So I'll put this down as a free radical. This is a white blood cell. It's a macrophage and white blood cell. So there's two different types. There's what I call the sweepers and the secretors. The secretors are your lymphocytes, your B cells. They're the ones that go and fight your T cells and your B cells to fight cancer and other infections. And they'll appear to sit there like a bump on a log, but they're actually little snipers. These are the guys that are the sweepers. And when they get in the mobile form, you'll actually see them engulfing other garbage. So that's a healthy little guy right there. And let's pull along here, pull up a little bit here. This guy here is what we call a protoplast. And a protoplast is basically cellular waste. And cellular waste is normal until it starts showing up in the bloodstream. Because the cellular waste should be transported by the red blood cells. But now we see crystallized patterns within the actual plasma itself. And that means that your blood is now exposed to a waste element directly, waste elements are acidic in nature. So acid elements are actually breeding grounds for things like bacteria, yeast, fungus, parasites, viruses, and so forth. In a worst case scenario, which doesn't happen most of the time, these acid elements could put you into a state called septicemia, which is basically, you see a little blue line going up the leg vein, and it works. It turns black, and then by the time it gets to your heart, you're done. You get about 5 days. Fortunately, in 99% of the cases, that doesn't happen, because the body has some remarkable backup systems. That's just my little phone giving an email. And what it does is it takes control of the body, saying blood gets priority number one. Any organs and tissues, you're secondary. Just the same as when you go outside in the wintertime, and if you don't have any gloves in your hand, or if you start to get cold, the first thing to get cold is the extremities. Why? Because the blood protects the heart. We need to keep the blood at a certain temperature, and all else is secondary. Because if you don't have this, you don't have anything else. Mm-hmm. So how the blood compensates for a waste element like this is that it tells the minerals which are in your muscles, in your bones, and in your endocrine system to come back into the bloodstream, because minerals are buffers. They're alkalizing agents. So minerals are now in the blood alongside the waste elements, which are acid in nature. And then the alkaline minerals buffer it out so that there's no more threat to the blood. Blood is happy. But the problem is that it happens at the expense of now that magnesium and the calcium, which is supposed to be in the muscles to relieve aches and pains. It's not there because it's in the blood.
It's taken it.
And if it keeps going down that little journey, then we'll start to take the minerals out of the bones, and then you get bone density issues and other things like that. And then if that's not enough, then it will start to take the minerals from your endocrine system. So the very organ systems that are there to combat stressful situations by dispatching hormones to quench pain and anxiety and all sorts of other things can't do their work because they use minerals to manufacture their hormones. So it sets you up on this round robin that you kind of wonder, how do I get out of this now? So that's why those guys are bad. But there's ways to deal with that too. So let's put that as acidic. Clear as mud so far? Okay. So we do see a fair amount of free radicals here. So what are you currently taking supplement-wise?
Well, right now I'm taking an antibiotic, doxycycline, for that that infection.
I was just going to say infection. See that light right there?
Yes.
See there's little dancing dots out here?
Yes.
And they're just freely floating. These little guys, they're trapped inside. They're bouncing around like ping pong balls. Mm-hmm. That's what they call a facete. A facete is a little gestating sac of bacteria, and when it pops, yeah, well, you know the old story. So no supplements or anything else like that right now? Or?
Well, I'm taking a probiotic.
Okay.
Yeah, and vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
But I just started it.
Okay.
But the probiotic I've been taking for a little while.
Okay, with the probiotic, are you just basically taking what's recommended on the label, or?
Well, I'm taking a live one right now.
Yeah.
A couple of those a day. Before I was just taking the ones off the shelf, but now I'm taking the live one.
Okay. And how many strains are in the live one, do you know?
Probably a lot. They're in the fridge, like those kind, like
Yep.
millions or billions or something.
Well, that's the strength of them. So they can be 50 billion, 100 billion. But then they'll also say on the label how many different types of probiotics are in there.
Okay.
And what's most important, what's more important than, whether you're taking 50 or 100 billion, I'm not so concerned about. What I'm more concerned about is finding a probiotic. I mean, use what you have, and if it has the multi-strains in there, great. But what's most important to look for in a probiotic is to make sure that it has at least 11 strains, 11 to 15 or 11 to 18 strains, or different types of probiotics in there. And that's most important because all the research that they've done shows that you need those 11 to 15 or 18 strains to work as the basis culture to help manufacture all of the other bacteria. They all come back to the core 11 to 15 group. Otherwise, you're not getting your full range of good probiotics. And when your body's in crises, i.e. with an infection, if it says in the label, take 1 or 2 a day, you take about 6 or 8 a day. But you only do that for 1 to 2 weeks. And to give you an illustration of why that works, is, do you like gardening at all? Gardening? But you understand the full process. Okay. So, Grandma, springtime, she comes out and she looks at her garden. And it's all full of weeds, because that's the first thing to grow. And she thinks, it's a lot of work. I don't want to put that all in right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cull out the weeds in this little section here. I'm going to plant my vegetables. Well, if 80% of the garden is filled up with weeds, how hard do you think she's going to have to work to keep that little corner unweeded? A lot. So basically, by taking the doses just on the label of a probiotic, because it's a dietary dose, not a therapeutic dose, this is what you're doing. You're keeping the wolves at the door, but you're not doing much more.
Okay.
What you want to do is you want to pull out all the weeds and reseed. And the faster that you can get all the weeds out and get all your vegetables planted, the healthier the garden's going to be. And probiotics are a form of plant. It's a little microscopic size. So the same principle applies. So for that 1 to 2 weeks, you go up on that high dose of 6 or 8 a day, and then you'll be fine. I've only ever encountered one person with a probiotic overdose in all my years, and that wasn't from me prescribing it to her. She came into me with the issue. She had so much bad gas, she had to literally stand up, and the only way to release it was just to stand up, bend over, touch her toes, and let her rip.
Oh, wow.
And she had gone to 9 different practitioners. Each practitioner said, take 4 acidophilus a day, you'll be fine. So she took 4 acidophilus a day, times 9 practitioners. Was taking 36 a day for a year and a half. Couldn't figure out why she had gas. Had too much of a good thing. But, so I said, well, here's a little lesson in logistics here. So that was the only time that I've seen that. So in a short period of time, you're not going to do any damage or harm. You can only get rid of these guys.
Okay.
Because this is the guy that just goes, ha-ha, blam, you're down.
Yeah, he's doing that.
So, oh, by the way, all these other little dancing guys in the background, kind of looks like a little mild snowstorm there.
Yes.
This is my my joke, which has an element of truth to it. That's your mad cow disease. You don't have mad cow disease, but mad cow disease is a prion-based disease. These are prions.
I thought they were my Lyme disease.
No. These are, well, we're going to do a little test a little bit later on, and we're going to study these.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you a little test to see what happens.
Okay.
Because the role that these guys have is quite fascinating. They don't have a life cycle as you and I understand it. They don't have a beginning and an end that we've ever seen. And the furthest back I think they studied them so far is about 4,000 years. And they just don't seem to have an end of life.
Figures.
They have a pendulum type swing of evolution. So these guys in their little dancing dot state is like a little caterpillar crawling along. That when you get ill, these guys turn into the moth. And in fact, what they do is that they actually they can turn into parasites, they can turn into bacteria, they can turn into viruses or funguses, whatever they need to do to break down the waste that's accumulating in the body. Which is kind of interesting when you think about it. So they're actually there to help, but it does take a toll on the system. And then when the body's back to normal again, they turn back into this little caterpillar. So we're going to actually, after we're finished looking at your sample, we're going to crush it. We're going to destroy as many red blood cells as we can to create waste. So much waste that the prions are going to decide whether they're going to take notice or not. And then we'll actually see them change.
Okay.
They're metamorphs. Yeah, shapeshifters. This guy here is one of your lymphocytes, your T cells, B cells. It's a white blood cell. It's the one that is the sniper. So, and he's in pretty normal state right there. It's when they get, it's just a little bit engorged. Nothing too much to worry about. And with an infection, you'd expect that. It's when they get to be double the size that we start to get concerned with that. Overall, it's a little bit of plaque. And when plaque starts accumulating in the bloodstream, it's because of the high reflective nature of the plaque, it's a place where, i.e. the plaque is also acidic. And it's also a place that bacteria, yeast, funguses, and so forth like to hide. Oh, and the reason I mentioned that these little dancing dots were your mad cow disease, what happened with mad cow disease is some loopy scientists had the idea that you could reduce feed costs for farmers by feeding live cows dead cows. Of course, the prions said, well, this is just dead cow. This is just waste tissue. We've got to get this out. But then it started coming in at avalanche proportions that they couldn't keep up with it no matter how many times they changed and retargeted. And it got to the point where the prions, because everything was so similar to the healthy normal tissue, but it was just dead, it couldn't distinguish between the healthy tissue and the normal tissue. And the very mechanism that was trying to clean up the waste of this dead cow that was in them was killing the live cow. And then the absolution that the researchers gave, he said, see, it was the prions. They killed the cows. We didn't kill the cows.
Like that sheep disease,
Yeah.
Jacob Chelvecki or something.
Jacob Drake.
Yeah.
That's why I always call it mad, because mad cow disease
is really the sheep disease.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. It's
Yeah.
Jacob Yap. I can never.
Jacob Yelvekich or something. Not right, but
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. One's just a layman's term, and the other one's the.
JC something.
Just like when I say, yeah, that's a poikilocyte. No, it's a free radical. I like keeping things simple.
Yeah.
So the docs basically said, yeah, the prions killed the cows. We didn't. all we did is we stopped giving them ruminant feed, and they all got well.
Mm-hmm.
So, wash the hands. See these guys here?
Mm-hmm.
See how there's kind of like mottled stuff inside?
Mm-hmm.
Like little cobwebs inside? Those are parasitized red blood cells. So we know there's some parasites around. This is one of your sweeper white blood cells. These guys are all looking fairly normal. That's just a,
An airplane.
yeah, that's just a little anomaly on the slide itself.
Okay.
You notice how things are getting kind of closer together and overlapping over here?
Mm-hmm.
At this point, this isn't anything to do with your blood specifically, or this is not because of your blood.
Mm.
This is because we're getting towards the edge of the slide,
Oh, okay.
and things are just bunching up
Mm-hmm.
because of the lack of space. And sometimes there's some interesting stuff to look at in these places. Oh, and this,
Mm.
and that big thing.
Mm.
Those are just bubbles of air, have nothing to do with your blood.
Okay.
Just so you can breathe. Now this here, a little bit of plaque on the bottom, and this funky kidney looking thing on top is what we call a symplast. And this is basically pollution. This is environmental waste.
Oh, yeah.
And it follows the same principal lines as the protoplast, which is the acidic waste. And
Can you get rid of that?
yeah, you can. But basically, when we start seeing these things accumulate in the blood, then we know that the liver needs a little extra help.
Well, guess what? My doctor said something's going on with my liver.
Mm-hmm. The symplast is, and that's why these guys are accumulating in the blood. You see how it looks like it's almost like a cobweb design there?
Mm-hmm.
When we see those cobweb designs, we call those fillets. And fillets are a direct expression of liver stress.
Mm. And I don't drink, so it's got nothing to do with alcohol.
Yep. You can see it here as well. Okay. More of that. So see how the background is all black, and then
Yeah.
this is so it only illuminates what's on the slide itself. So we see some yeast forms here, like candida.
I was wondering if I had that.
These guys come through here. And some more environmental waste there. And
I was diagnosed with environmental allergies
Mhm.
because I can't handle the smell of any kind of thing, like any kind of plastics or like even sometimes just going outside and smelling everything.
Oh, I
It just
know.
drives me nuts.
We have Brantford, of course, used to be an area that did a lot of manufacturing
Yes, and
Of-
so is Windsor.
during for the Second World War ammunition
Yeah.
and things like that. So
They did that.
there's a site down the south end of town that has just it's been fenced off for years, and they said we gotta clean it up. And basically what they were doing is that they weren't disposing like their toxic waste. They're just digging trenches in the back and dumping it.
I think that's what they did a lot back then, eh?
Yeah, and they've been working on it now for about a year and a half. And what they've had to do is they've got literally the whole perimeter is about every 30 feet has one of these high-powered like aircraft fan,
Wow.
and basically depending upon which way the wind is blowing, because it's on the edge of town,
Yeah.
or basically they're just blowing it away from the residents. But every once in a while, you can actually even smell it way up here, like 3 or 4 kilometers away. I don't know how people down there actually
Stand it.
stand it, but it's got to come out. So
See, we got a few of those places in Windsor. Zalof's is a place where they crush all cars up, and it's I don't know, but great. But then Ford's did a lot for World War II, also building all kinds of stuff.
oh yeah, well, and then just a general everyday.
And they had 3
Manufacturing.
factories there,
Yeah.
and now they're down to 1, or well, 2.
I understand. I read something about there's an island, I think, down in Lake St. Clair,
Zug Island. Is that-
and
it's right near Windsor, kind of like it blows. All the stuff blows.
there's some sort of factory on there that creates some sort of low-level thump, and for
Yeah.
years nobody's been able to
I live near there.
confirm or deny, or
Yeah.
it's one of these things that's kind of
It's a mystery, almost.
well, because they keep it in the blue book status because they don't want to address it,
That's right. That's true.
and it's
Every
Yeah.
so often, the public starts going a little wacky on it. They get mad.
yeah. I've got a friend that lives down in Amherstburg on the water there, and he
Oh,
says
That's where I live near.
yeah, he's and he says it's just crazy what goes on down there.
Mm-hmm.
But he says he loves to bird watch because he's got a place right on the water. And
Yes, beautiful
he
there.
says he watched an eagle,
Yes, there's eagles now.
and then they'll pull up.
Fish.
Well, actually, no, this thing pulled up a rabbit, I think.
Oh,
it was.
they've done that too. Yeah, you can see
And then
that.
they just, as soon as they scooped up the rabbit, they went sky high and went pile drive the poor thing onto the ice. It's the quickest way to get it into an arrested state,
Yeah.
I guess. And then had its breakfast. So here is another one of these sweeping red blood cells,
Okay.
white blood cells, I mean. And you see how it's got these little lobes in here?
Mm-hmm.
So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're in the 4 state, you should be like three in there. Once you get to 5, there's things really starting to kick up.
Yeah, well, I'm taking those antibiotics and my lymph nodes are swelling up from it. So that might be because of all this garbage in here.
So do you go for any type of lymphatic massage, or
No, but I was thinking of that.
even do you have a rebounder, like little mini trampoline? You can just
I did have a mini trampoline, but I don't have one now.
The other thing you can do is when you're like what a lymphatic massage does is that the blood and the lymph parallel each other. There's just as much lymph as there is blood, and everything gets dumped into the lymph and gets overwhelmed, and the nodes swell up. But it's a series of nodes, but it's also a highway like the blood system. And the lymphatic massage, what they do is instead of pushing right down to the muscle, they just push down to the muscle and then just slightly pull along back towards the heart.
Yeah.
From the head down to the heart, arms up to the heart, feet up to the heart. Everything moves towards the heart, and that moves the lymph as well.
I might have to get an appointment to get that done.
Okay. So here's a couple of what neutrophils, the white blood cells that are the secretor ones, which are a little bit enlarged.
I am on iron pills now for low iron.
Okay. See, in the world of blood, the world is flat. I just listened to CBC a couple of years ago, and they interviewed a gentleman from a place called the Flat Land Society.
Oh, yeah.
And they still believe the world is flat. It was a rather tongue-in-cheek interview, but
Oh, a hurt.
what's that?
You had a hurt there. Where did that go?
Yeah, it's amazing the shapes you see of some of these things. Back into the free radical zone. Okay. So what we're going to do now is another bit of waste product there.
And that just gets in from breathing?
Oh, the air you breathe, the food you drink,
Okay.
the food you eat, and the water you drink. It's just-
Okay.
sometimes it's osmosis through the skin. Some more cellular waste there. Okay. So now what we do, this is where it gets highly technical. As you'll see in a second. I take my very technical tool, young one screwdriver, and then we just take the sample and we just crush it up. This makes the blood cells rather upset. I try not to be a violent person, but you know, just for purposes of this test, we need to crush some blood cells. I typically do it only with these ones, not the ones that are inside of you. Yeah, they're going to take a little bit to settle down here, and then show you what I was explaining before. These manuals are very confusing. They have their table of contents on like page 32. So what we were looking at before was these little guys. They're basically normal, non-disease forming. Once you get into the gray and the black sections, these are all the different stages of progression. So down here we see viral, parasitical, bacterial, fungal. And the higher up you go, the worse you feel.
Okay.
So, but when it's in this level or below, we're all good. My microscope really can't see below that. Can't see up there, but once you're up in there, you're really nitpicking. See, it looks like they're, see there's a whole bunch of like little guys here. They're not quite the size of the red blood cells.
Yeah.
And they're just floating along. These are your prions that are called phyla. And that's I'm just going to put a little S beside it. That's what we looked at after the fact.
Okay.
If we'd seen these before we stressed the blood, it would be of greater concern.
Okay.
But this helps us understand that you're working with things on a bacterial level, which, given the fact that you're on an antibiotic, is just confirming that fact. And the fact that we saw a little cholelithocyte, but I've seen cholelithocytes without seeing the phyla. And the only reason the phyla is there is because your body's own natural detoxification and defense mechanisms are feeling overwhelmed. So they called on the prions to say, hey, let's get some extra stuff going on to help jig this thing through. As you can see here, we didn't see all of this before. This is all of the environmental waste products that was being transported by the blood, which now we see because there's blood's gone. This is now in the bloodstream as well. All the bright ones here, that's just the bubbles of air. And because all the acidity was put into the blood, now you can see that everything's kind of stacked together, and which is normal to see. The most important thing we're studying right now is just to see where these little prions go. And they can actually advance multiple stages. But all we're really seeing is the one stage, which is good. It takes a lot for them to progress up through the stages. And if they went up 2 more stages, you'd be feeling kind of in that bedridden state. But it, like I said, it takes a lot to get it there. Okay. We don't see any further advancement here. The next stage we would look at to see is that actually look like little one-dimensional worms squiggling through your blood.
Oh yeah.
They start a little small. In fact, you see little dancing dots, and they start doing this little Stretch Armstrong thing.
Yes.
And then they wind up being these big long strings
Mm-hmm.
that go from one end of the screen to the other, and they're just dangling through the plasma. So that's good. So now what we do is, to round out the picture, we head on to the dry blood. And this is the part that you haven't had before, right?
Mm-mm. No.
This helps to target the organ systems.
Oh.
Everything's actually happening within. And we can see some other
Oh, okay.
toxicities, inflammations, and deficiencies. It's not mobile like the lab blood, but it's a lot more colorful.
Oh.
I learned the hard way not to drop those things the wrong way. It's very expensive.
Yes.
Actually, I got off very easy. That little piece there is about 2,000.
Oh my gosh.
And when I dropped one on the floor, and the place I was at just ended up having to be a concrete floor, and it went lens first. So I says, uh-oh. So I went calling around. I found this guy in Toronto who sells spare microscope parts.
Nice.
All used, of course, but I mean,
But so is yours.
yeah, exactly. You know,